In the grim dark future of the 40th millennium, where tyrannids ravage worlds for anything they can consume, and chaos forces disrupt order and peace, the Imperium of Mankind stands strong in defiance against all their enemies. With a large border to protect from invaders and heretical cults to squash within, the Imperium has similar problems to the bygone empire of the Romans. Today, we'll look into two empires that are separated by nearly 41,000 years and explore how a futuristic and technologically advanced society can have the same problems as an ancient one. Hi, my name's Nico, and as a college student who doesn't have their priorities in check, I spent way too much time divulging and exploring the universe of Warhammer 40k instead of studying for tests that I probably should have done better on. So, in order to make me feel better about the wasted time I spent, I'm going to go over some similarities and differences between the Roman Empire and the Imperium of Mankind found in Warhammer 40k. For anyone getting into Warhammer 40k, or this being one of the first times learning about Warhammer 40k, I definitely recommend to watch this video, but to also watch other videos exploring the universe. Warhammer 40k is an extremely extensive universe that I don't have anywhere close to enough time to go over, so any lore brought up will only be discussed to the extent that is relevant to the comparison. Although, I definitely do recommend exploring 40k in your own time, as there's a niche for almost anyone. And as a disclaimer, there will be events that I discuss today that are a significant spoiler in the Warhammer 40k story. So if you don't want to get spoiled, watch another video and come back. If not, let's get right into it. During the Roman Empire, Jews were common throughout all of Rome geographically. The land of Judea was conquered in 63 BC by General Pompey. However, many Jews had lived in Rome prior to the acquisition of their religious motherland. As time went on, tensions arose between Jews and Romans, and wars broke out between the two. Eventually, in 70 AD, the Jewish tax was instituted, and it allowed paying Jews to be exempt from the obligations of making sacrifices to the Roman state religion, which helped ease tensions. These taxes allowed for more resources to be put into the expansion and construction of the Roman Empire. In the 40k universe, the cult Mechanics were the sect of humans who lived on Mars. At first, they were the first colonists on Mars from when humanity was a fledgling in space travel. Humanity sent their best and brightest minds to Mars, which led to a technological divide between Mars and Terra. Terra is just Earth, it's just what it's called in the 40k universe. Anyways, it caused Terra just to be a resource farm for the innovation that was occurring off-planet. This divide fueled animosity, and eventually war erupted. The Imperium of Terra sieged Mars, and peace was reached with the Treaty of Olympus Mons. The treaty stated that the cult Mechanicus would be recognized by the Imperium and allowed to be exempt from the imperial-mandated religion in exchange for all the technological advancements that would be needed to expand the Imperium. The Imperium, much like the Roman Empire, deified its leader. Despite his strong disposition to it, he was made the god of their state religion. The cult Mechanicus, now called the Adeptus Mechanicus post-treaty, would not have worshipped the God Emperor. Instead, they would have worshipped the machine spirit, or the Omnissiah. They worshipped their technology, and they believed that there was a spirit within each device. Before, I called the cult Mechanicus human with a quotation mark because they're not human in the sense that you and I think. Most Mechanicus transplanted their flesh with machine, making them mostly machine and kind of man. However, they did maintain some humanity, as thinking machines, or AI, was outlawed. So, any thinking or innovation was still done by technically humans. As I quickly brushed over before, the Imperium of Man had a state religion which worshipped its leader, the Emperor. From now on, I'll call him the Big E because I don't want to say God Emperor of Mankind 12 times. Anyways, the Big E is a being called an Eternal, which means they can live forever. However, if they are mortally wounded and killed, they can come back to life. The Big E was born in a Neolithic village on the Anatolian Peninsula and was raised in hiding. He watched history pass as he grew and saw the damage that religion caused on humanity. Also, fun fact, even though it's not explicitly stated in canon material of 40k, it's widely accepted in the community that the Big E was Alexander the Great, and that he used this time to experiment on war tactics. A nod to this being one of his first starships being named Bucephalus, which was also the name of Alexander the Great's horse. Anyways, back to what I was saying. He vowed that when the time came for him to rule humanity, he would make logic and reasoning be more valued over religious devotion. During the Warring States era of the Techno-Barbarians, the Big E led a coalition during what was called the Unification Wars. Although by the time he had won the war, he was already worshipped. His deification was solidified after the 31st millennium, in which he was mortally wounded during the Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy is a topic that could have its own dedicated documentary, so we'll skip all of that for now and only focus on the Big E. He was left mortally wounded and on the brink of death. The Adeptus Mechanicus built him his life support systems and did everything they could to keep him alive. In the end, he rests on his throne half alive and half dead, keeping vital warp systems and other Imperial systems that run off of psychic magic afloat single-handedly. Even though he was known for his unparalleled physical strength, he's now paralyzed. Despite this, more subjects of the Imperium worship him than ever, seeing him as a fallen hero of the Horus Heresy. This allows him to be so psychically capable despite his physical state. Although Caesar's death wasn't as grandiose as the Big E's, it had rippling effects on the Empire. After his death, a meteor shot through the sky and people claimed it was his soul. This led to the idea that his soul was going to where the gods reside and became one. This became a trend in which, after a Roman emperor died, they became a god. Similar to the Imperium's subject, Roman subjects were expected to worship each emperor after their death, whereas in the Imperium, you were expected to worship the God Emperor. Throughout the video, I have mentioned heresy, specifically the Horus Heresy. Heresy in the 40k universe is rooted in worshipping any of the 4 chaos gods, rather than the singular God Emperor. Although the roles are reversed here, Christians worshipped one god, while the Romans worshipped many. Those who worshipped the singular god were considered heretics and could be arrested and executed in many different ways. Most of the time, they were killed for entertainment. To the Romans, Christianity was a secret cult that ate the body of their god and drank his blood. In reality, it was just symbolism. In the 40k universe, though, things were a bit more literal. Those who worshipped Nergal, the Plague Lord, would sacrifice their body to death, decay, and rot, harboring incurable and grotesque diseases in honor of their god. Despite their form, those who willingly succumbed to Nergal felt no pain. On the contrary, they were freed of any pain they felt prior to their unholy sickness. Although it is a bit of an extreme example, both Christianity and chaos are 2 religions that threaten the stability of both empires. However, the Imperium of Man has yet to fall to chaos. In order to make sure subjects of both the Imperium and the Empire followed this religious mandate, a form of secret police was used to enforce rule. The Romans had the Frumentari, and the Imperium had the Inquisition. Similar to the Frumentari, the Inquisition would gather information on what occurred throughout the vast Imperium. Additionally, if they suspected certain subjects to be disloyal to the God Emperor, they would promptly disappear. The Frumentari were also known to carry out assassinations. However, they were most likely given direct orders from the Emperor. These targets were most likely generals or political rivals that threatened the Emperor's seat. Although not quite as similar as the previous examples, it is notable that both empires had and often used secret police in order to maintain rule. One final connection is more so an act rather than a thing. The phrase "crossing the Rubicon" is known to mean going past the point of no return. This phrase originates from when Julius Caesar crossed the river Rubicon after being warned by the Senate not to. Since he had been told by the Senate to disband his army and return to Rome after his term had ended, Caesar was supposed to relinquish his political power. However, he didn't, and when told not to cross the Rubicon, it was a final warning by the Senate. We all know how the story goes, and Julius Caesar ends the rule of the Roman Republic. When I mention the 40k universe, most people think of these guys. Space Marines. The poster boys of Warhammer are genetically modified human super soldiers with 2 hearts, 3 lungs, and an organ that lets them spit acid. Since their creation, they've remained unchanged, up until the Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy left the entire Imperium in shock. Following its aftermath, the de facto leader, Robert Guilliman of the Imperium, initiated a new breed of Space Marines, named Primaris Marines. Although, in order to be a Primaris Marine, you would have to be born into it, many firstborn Marines could undergo a procedure called the Rubicon Primaris. This allowed the first generation of Space Marines to be retrofitted and upgraded to Primaris Marines. When discussing the procedure, fellow Space Marines would call the act of receiving the surgery as crossing the Rubicon. Although not the same meaning as the quote today, it still conveys the message of advancing past a point that cannot be returned to. Thanks for watching this long. I hope you found this video entertaining and maybe a little educational. If not, it's okay because now you know as much useless information about a tabletop game from the 80s as I do, which makes me feel a little better about my poor choices. If you're looking for more Warhammer 40k content, I suggest scrolling through YouTube and clicking on a video that you like. Additionally, there's a Warhammer 40k show in production, and it's being made by Amazon and having Henry Cavill as one of the creative directors, as well as a studio that makes Warhammer 40k content. So if you're looking for more or looking for an interesting show, I definitely suggest watching it when it comes out on Amazon. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope you liked it.